I want to talk about how the gig economy has benefited me over these past 7 years. If this is your first time checking out the Gig Geezer, if you're a returning visitor of the Gig Geezer, thanks for coming by. And if you would not mind, hit that subscribe button, give my content a thumbs up, share my content among others, and I definitely welcome your comments in the section below. It is Friday, September 15, 2023. When this segment of the Gig Geezer comes out, I will have officially been in the gig economy, or been active in the gig economy 7 years. That's right. I started this time 7 years ago in the gig economy. My first app that I worked was Uber. And as I've shared many occasions, in fact, if you check out this segment of the Gig Geezer, which I uploaded among my first ones that I uploaded 2 years ago, I explained, or at least I shared my thoughts about gig economy after 5 years. My first day or first weekend working Uber, I made like $137, and I'm like, man, this is money that I have access to. At least at some point there would be an immediacy of access to money on that app, and that's money that I could use. At least what I recall starting out on the Uber app, I had to wait 2 weeks before I could cash out on a daily basis. So starting out, I had to wait each Monday for Uber to deposit into my checking account. Well, what's interesting about looking back to 2016, back then it was a driver's market. In fact, gas was less than $2 a gallon, and so it kind of made sense to make some gambles, take some gambles, because it didn't hurt you in the pocket back then. I will also say this, and I've said this many a times, I kind of wish I'd known about Uber and Lyft a year earlier. I can't say that it would have changed history, but it surely would have affected my financial situation, probably in a more positive situation as opposed to what I went through in 2015 and parts of 2016. If I were to give a broad observation of at least what I think about the gig economy, one of the things that catch my attention is that, or at least looking back, a lot of folk are intrigued and somewhat drawn to the gig economy because they hear how this is money that you can access immediately. Many apps allow you to cash out same day or within 24 hours or within 48 hours, sometimes weekly. But that money is money that you can access much sooner than your paychecks. Another thing that I recognize that people are endeared to or drawn to about the gig economy is that it is a means of making more money, either to supplement your money, or actually in some situations like back in 2020, 2021, when people were laid off or their jobs were shut down, this was a stopgap for a lot of folk. But what happened was that a lot of people recognized too that they were making more money doing gig work than they were on their job, and some of them liked the fact that they had their independence and autonomy, and they're like, fuck the job, fuck the W-2, take this job and shove it up your ass. And that's what a lot of people did for at least up until this year. Now I'm seeing where a lot of folk are going back to the W-2 world, but then there are those who are still trying to make it work. Now, I was never one of those who thought of take the W-2 and shove it, because I was already a 1099. My reasoning for getting into the gig economy back in 2016, as I've shared on many occasions, was to find a way to help earn extra money to help my daughter as she was going through her undergrad programs, and then ultimately, eventually, when she was working towards her master's degree, and then eventually as she, at least for the next year and a half upon earning her master's, she was in a doctoral program. Now, as personally, what I did not know was that as I also entered into the gig economy, I was looking for gig work to supplement the money that I was making primarily as an insurance agent. In fact, in 2016, I was going through a serious transition going from a captive agent, having worked at Allstate and Nationwide previously, to going on my own once again as a 1099 or independent agent. The one thing that I had to do in 2016, in fact, my biggest investment was when I put out $351 towards my errors and omissions insurance. Errors and omissions for an agent is the equivalent of like having your commercial insurance when you're operating a Sprinter/cargo van. So that $351 put down put me in a position to where I can say, okay, I've got my errors and omissions. Now all I need to do is find a brick and mortar office, and I can really approach some of these property and casualty carriers as what I eventually did. In fact, on this segment of the Gig Geezer, I shared a scene from my office where I went and checked on the mail if there's any mail slid under my door. Now, the thing is that, as I mentioned, I looked at the gig economy to supplement my insurance agent income. What I did not know was that over the course of time, that gig economy money would supplant my insurance agent money to where it's actually flipped, to where over 90% of my money is earned through gig work or gig work slash operating my Sprinter/cargo van. And insurance agent money is right now roughly 5% of the money that I've earned so far in 2023. Now, what was interesting about the gig economy when I started out doing Uber primarily, and then eventually Lyft when it was made available statewide in January 2017. The thing that was interesting about Uber and Lyft, nobody complained about not making any money on the app. In fact, at that time, still in 2016, drivers made 75% of the customer's fare. 75%. In fact, I shared on the segment of the Gig Geezer, one of my highest paying rides was from the Columbia Airport to the Atlanta Airport, and the customer paid $240. My cut was $180. In fact, my highest paying gig ride was on the Lyft app in 2018, March 2018. And that paid $221. The breakdown was $201 base fare, $20 tip. However, the customer paid like almost $280 on that, and I got 75%. Yeah, now, as my understanding, I have not attempted nor completed a ride since October 2020, and altogether since March 2020, so almost 4 years now, I've attempted and completed 2 rides on both apps. It's my understanding now, hell, drivers may make half or even less. Now, that was considered the golden era. That was still kind of, I mean, if you look back, that was almost the tail end of the golden era of rideshare. In fact, those drivers who got in before me, like 2014, 2015, they had contracts in which they earned 80% of the fares. So there was no fuckery with the apps, as what my man Uber Jeep AZ, Jay Watts, talks of. In fact, drivers did not, the apps did not tip. The apps did not have tip features for the customers. In fact, if a customer did not tip you cash, if they wanted to tip you, what you would offer is that, hey, I've got a Square reader, you can swipe your card, and you can tip whatever you want. In fact, that may be the best way of dealing with Uber and Lyft, since it is said by Jay Watts that Uber and Lyft be stealing tips from drivers. That may be the best way of protecting yourself. As for Grubhub, DoorDash, Instacart, I had not heard of that. I was aware of Uber Eats in 2017 because it was introduced into the Columbia, South Carolina metropolitan area. I did not like Uber Eats at the time because you did not know where you were going, and you did not know what you made until after you delivered the order. And for what I had experienced, I thought it was a waste of fucking time. It was very much akin to like the former Postmates app. So, all right, from a money standpoint, in 2016, I was dealing with a major transition from captive agent to independent agent. I had stints at Allstate and Nationwide, and then I partnered myself. I partnered with a what you would say is considered a managing general agent. A managing general agent is one who has a lot of contracts, and the way they set themselves up is that they make their money when they have agents who work under them, or basically are partnered under them as sub-agents under their contracts, and they make a percentage of what their agents produce. And so that situation got me through part of 2016. But in the fall of 2016, actually September 2016, I began thinking very seriously about going on my own as an agent, having my own agency. And so the single most important transaction I made in 2016 was purchasing, putting the necessary money down for purchasing errors and omissions insurance. Errors and omissions insurance for insurance agents is the equivalent of, for lack of better words, in terms of importance, is like the equivalent of a Sprinter/cargo van driver or even a box truck driver having their commercial insurance. Now, in terms of money that I made in 2016, I earned altogether that year right at about $23,000. In fact, a breakdown of the money was primarily insurance agent money and some publishing money, because I still had a lot of dealings with publishing books. I wasn't writing books, but I was publishing and editing books, and so I made money that way. And then once I started doing Uber, started doing rideshare, according to my tax document, I made $5,844 on Uber in a matter of like 3 months. So to me, that was pretty damn good money at the time. Now, in 2017, we move up in terms of making more money, and the transition really began in which money that I had looked to rideshare to supplement insurance agent money, it was beginning to supplant insurance agent money. In fact, I had a couple of really good months for me at that time, in that I earned in June $3,728 in 2017, and in November in 2017 I earned $3,864. In fact, my best single days doing rideshare was $256 in November 2017, and just a few weeks earlier, $200.22 in October 2017. So all things are relative, all things are somewhat proportionate to your experience and all. And I'll even throw in, with your experience comes your expectations. So now if we were to fast forward to 2023, well, I've got a lot of content that documents the money that I've earned so far. But what I will share in this segment of the Gig Geezer, and in fact, as of today, September 15, 2023, I have earned already over $75,000. I am on track to earn over $100,000 this year by doing what I've been doing through gig work and operating my Sprinter/cargo van. My best month so far, $12,600+ last month, August 2023. I am on track. I have earned well over $5,000 already this month. I am on track to earn about $11,000 this month. So in that respect, the gig economy has benefited me greatly. Now, I hope that nobody mistakes me, and I hope that I'm not repeating myself though, but I hope that nobody mistakes me being some fucking shill for somebody's fucking app. I have never uttered words as being a goddamn shill, and I'll never do that. And I realize that people have their price, but that one registers zero on my meter. But what I'm getting at is that what I've often said when people ask me, well, how much you make on the app, or how do you do? I always tell people it's what you make of it, and that you have to treat this as a business. I've been very consistent in saying that over the years. It is what you make of the gig economy that determines how it benefits you. You can't let these goddamn apps dictate to you exactly how you should go about doing your business, how you should go about making your money. If there's anything that I would share after 7 years, and it's become more prevalent now, is that these apps count on the greater majority of drivers out there, probably they're playing the numbers game. They're playing the numbers game in that over 90% of the people who are out here are just out here to make some fucking spare change. So you make spare change, you have a spare change type attitude, you can make fucking type money. But also you make thirsty type decisions. And what I mean by that, they're counting on you to play checkers instead of chess. And so if I were to show you some examples of actual offers, in fact, I am going to show you a couple examples of a couple offers. For example, there was there was a load that came up recently in which the offer was $950. I bid $1,350. In fact, the pickup was from North Carolina going to Texas, College Station, in fact. So that would have been an opportunity for me to go back home to Houston again this year. College Station is like 90 minutes beyond Houston. So you're talking 1,100 mile ride trip. I'm thinking $1,350. So I'm told that there's a lot of offers out there, and so that I may need to come down to $1,250, which I was okay with doing, and then perhaps really make an effort and try to make some money on my way back. Well, come to find out, that trip went for $950. Now I know that people are going to say that there are probably some other decisions with a person going with that, but I was told specifically by my broker that they were holding at 1,000, hoping that based on timing, someone would bite for the fucking 1,000. I'll just put it like this. Another example was on another app. Another example was how I tried to negotiate on another app, and the load involved several hundred pounds, about 800, 900 pounds of items to be shipped. I know that with that type of weight, I should get at least $200. That's what I'm thinking. $200 based on miles, weight and all, $200, but the offer was like $46. They told me, well, we'll keep that in mind. Okay, so what they're saying was, okay, yeah, thanks for letting us know, but we're gonna wait for some thirsty to grab this shit at $46. And that's exactly what happened. Some thirsty motherfucker, some dumbass thirsty motherfucker grabbed it at $46. Now, recently, someone chided me for saying something like that, that I should be mindful that people are out here struggling and trying to do whatever they can to make it each day, and that I should refrain from such comments. I responded by saying that I refuse, nor will I refuse to refrain from my comments on thirsty dumbass motherfuckers, and I will not, and I refuse to apologize for that. And I stand by my words, because as I shared in this segment of the Gig Geezer, when people make decisions like that, they are fucking it up for everyone else. So, I don't want to go on forever with this particular segment of the Gig Geezer. This is not me ranting. This is not me having this magna opus and all, in which I have this list of complaints and list of complaints and manifesto. It is nothing like that. What I do want to share though is that some of the challenges that I see with the gig economy. I can't predict things because things have changed so much in the last 7 years. But some of the challenges that I see that we face is the constant back and forth with gig apps, because it's like you're gonna make your most money when gig apps are first introduced into your market. That seems to be when you're gonna make your most money. But then when word gets around and then the thirsties get into it, that's when your money goes down. And then you've got to look for other avenues to make your money. That's just the way it is. But the other thing is that you have to be mindful how, as I mentioned already, these apps are preying upon your thirst and your impatience and your ignorance. And the only way to make these things work, you have to think things through. Granted that these apps create situations that you may have mere seconds, but if you're constantly focused on what your goal is, you can adapt and make those decisions very quickly as well. I realize that when apps try to squeeze money from the drivers, it's all about business. It's all about business. But as I stressed again, you have to make these apps work for you, work for your benefit. That is the only way that I've been able to stay in the gig economy for 7 years. So that's why, like over the last 3 years, for example, the previous 3 years, 2020 to 2022, my income was 75, 82, 81, 7 in terms of income. This year, as I mentioned, I'm tracking to make over 100,000. But you can only get there by not making thirst-like decisions. And so, as you can tell here, I'm actually approaching through the art of editing, for whatever it's worth, through the art of editing. As you can tell here, I am in Atlanta, and I am approaching the Atlanta airport area. The reason being is that I started today with a home improvement delivery opportunity that earned me $52, and then I stacked a brokered opportunity that's paying $350. So the home improvement opportunity served as a buffer for gas, and enables me to basically win on expense by making $350 straight up on this opportunity from Sherrill, South Carolina to Atlanta's Jackson-Hartsville Airport. And in fact, I'll be going to the Lufthansa air cargo warehouse to drop off this load. But hopefully you got something out of this segment of the Gig Geezer. You got maybe a historical perspective, but you also may have gotten some insight and maybe some inspiration, maybe some knowledge, maybe a different understanding of things. And if you like the content that's been provided in this segment of the Gig Geezer or in any other segment of Gig Geezer, hit that subscribe button. Give my content a thumbs up. Share my content among others, and I definitely welcome your comments in the section below. I'm Inwood Lane, and as always, may your grind and may your hustle continue.